Have returned. Mr. Durst is present with his lawyers. People are represented. Mr. Henderson, you may resume the playing of the video.
If you don't, I hope that when you actually hit the witness stand, I hope that that oath means something to you. You said you're a professional liar, and that's, well, no, I understand the advertising thing. Listen, Nick, I said from the very first conversation, I don't know if you remember this, I told you, these conversations that we're having with you are a process. I would not have expected that the first time we talk to you, that you're going to open up and tell us the most incriminating thing that your friend has said to you, something that would completely betray your friendship. I understand that. I also understand that obviously Bob has a lot of money, and you understand, I'm not saying this is what's motivating you, Nick, but you understand that if you provide us this information, you understand that very likely Bob's not going to give you any money ever again, not going to leave you anything. I'm not saying that's your motivation, but you would agree that's what's going to happen, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to leave you money or regardless of that.
No, but Nick, you agree that if you come in and you testify that, hey, Bob admitted to me that he committed murder, you agree, you realize you're not getting anything from him, right?
I wouldn't want anything.
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean, that's a question you don't seem to want to answer. It's a pretty easy one. You agree that if you did that, if Bob was planning on leaving you anything or giving you any money, that would be it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
I imply with that I would accept that don't have anything to do with my decision at work. You guys, you're obtuse about one thing.
Well, tell me.
My interest and the reason I wouldn't want to be subpoenaed is because my business depends upon the goodwill with his brother, who hates him. I want to do everything in my power to have Douglas Durst feel the best about me. That's what this is about.
Well, wait, so Nick, well, if that were true, Nick,
he's a great guy.
Nick, if that were true, Nick, if that were true, then you would have been telling us from day one, oh yeah, Bob confessed to me, he said he did these murders, etc., because according to your theory, that would put you in good graces with Doug Durst.
It sure would, but it would make me a liar.
Well, Nick, then how do you explain the 20 times I've gotten you on tape saying, listen, I haven't told you everything that I know about Susan and about Kathy with respect to Bob because it would betray our friendship, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it. How do you explain that? You weren't drunk?
I can't.
Well, okay, listen, that's fair. So, like I said, the door's open.
I wouldn't withhold anything. I wouldn't withhold anything that would help your case.
Well, Nick,
Help me.
Nick, but you know what, though? You already told us in prior conversations, you said the exact opposite of that. You said, listen, I am withholding. I'm not telling you everything I know. And the reason I'm not doing it is because it would be a betrayal to Bob. And because I would feel disloyal. And it would be damaging to him. So, you understand you said that, correct?
You're not coming across what I'm trying to say. My best course of action is to be completely truthful.
Well, and that's always everybody's best course of action. But Nick, you already told us repeatedly that you haven't been completely truthful. That's what I respect. Remember when I told you several times previously, I've said, hey, Nick, one thing that I really appreciate about you... I don't know what that is. Is that you? What? Are you there? George, are you there?
I told you. That's me. I had to put the phone on hold for a second, and I didn't realize it was in the elevator you had.
Okay.
I told you, you'll tire me.
with the elders.
The whole story about the best you know.
Jeez, you've uncovered the mystery, huh? Hey, Hey, Nick, you remember when we were talking, one of the things that I said about you that I said I appreciate.
Albert, you know, the comment he does every scene when interviewers checked out the second they get
Right. Hey, listen, very funny. Do you remember when I told you, I said, one of the things I appreciate about you, Nick, is that instead of telling me, hey, listen, I don't know anything, what you were very honest with me about, you said, listen, I'm not going to tell you everything I know because it would be disloyal, and I'm not going to do it, and I don't know when I'm going to do that. You understand, you have told us that repeatedly.
I don't know if you used the words disloyal.
You said, well, I'll tell you what you said. I'd be a fink. You said I was a fink. First thing you said on the when I called you the second day, if I remember, was you had said when we talked the first day, you had said at the end of it, maybe I'm not ready to tell you any more today, maybe tomorrow. So I called you the next day. I asked for Nick Chavin. Do you remember what you said?
Did you already
Right. No, he's gone. He's in Argentina. I go, hey, gosh, this sounds a lot like the Nick Chavin I talked to yesterday. And then you said, listen, I said, let me guess, Nick, you got off the phone yesterday. You thought about what happened, and you said, oh my God, what have I done? And you said, exactly. And then you used the word that you felt like a fink. And I said, listen, you can only own your actions, what you do, etc. Do you remember any of this?
A little bit.
Oh, okay, so
The New York Times, the first time I never appeared in print with Bob Durst words. Bob didn't kill Kathy, he loved her.
right.
I mean, things change in life, you know. Anyway, that's where it was just an unthinkable thing to me that could have even possibly happened.
Nick, and this is, and Nick, listen, do I think, I do not think in the end, Nick, I don't think your biggest motivation, or maybe even your motivation at all, is money. I don't think it's fame. I think what this comes down to Bob is your friend, and it comes down to what's the line that Susan told you about Kathy? And you know what it is, Nick. What was the line?
I won't repeat it, you know it.
Well, you know what the line was. Kathy's gone.
You will believe.
Kathy's gone, and we can't help her. We have to help Bob. Where did I get that line from?
I don't know. There's no, you have what you have.
No, but Nick, where did I get that line from?
I don't know. I don't have to answer that. I don't want to answer. I know that.
Oh, and so listen. So this is what I'm saying. Nick, all that I'm telling you is that I understand this is a process, and if you end up advancing in this process and you get to a position where you're ready to tell us everything that you know and that you remember, you call us and we're willing to listen. Okay? So.
If that happens, I will.
Well, okay, and yeah, if you get to that point, I don't know that you'll get there. I hope you do, but that's where we'll leave it. Like I said, by the time trial's going to be a long time away. So we'll get to where we get. Well, I mean, we have a preliminary hearing that occurs first, and then the trial will be set after that. It is, these preliminary hearings, they tend to not have very many live witnesses, if any. A police officer comes in and he testifies to what witnesses have said. So usually we don't have witnesses, or very few witnesses, at a prelim, and the witnesses all come and testify at trial. So we will definitely be calling you to testify at trial. Timing-wise, once Bob gets out here, he has a right to a preliminary hearing within 10 court days. Now, I don't know whether he will do that or not. A lot of times, very wealthy people think that if they rush us to trial, that they're going to benefit. You've talked to Habib and I a few times now.
The OJ thing.
Yeah, you've talked to Habib and I a few times now. Do we seem like we have a pretty substantial knowledge of this case?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, if they want to push us to trial, that's fine. More than likely what will happen is they'll ask for a quick preliminary hearing, and then they'll ask for a quick trial, and when the trial date gets near, then they'll say, we're not ready, we want to continue it. So I have, plus they're getting paid a lot of money. Hey, who do you think's getting paid, wait, who do you think's getting paid more money? Habib, George and I, or Bob's lawyers?
Let me think. Lawyers and the secretaries.
You know what? That is probably right. We've offered a winner take all. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think.
So how does that work?
Well, we each put what we're getting paid to work on the case in the kitty, and the winner would take it. There's some legal issues where I don't think we can do that, but I don't see them jumping at that deal. So the bottom line is I don't see it. So the bottom line is that we'll see what ends up, how long it takes, but the trial could be as soon as 3 months after Bob gets out here, or they could end up slowing things down. It could be much later. So like I said, you have my number. In the meantime, you know, I'll leave you with this, Nick. Friendship is one thing, and you've been a very good, loyal friend to him. There's a point of, you have. And I know you feel bad that you told us what you told us. I know you do, and I know you wish we never would have called. Or that you never would have talked to us, right?
Yeah, but didn't Carrie tell you I thought you guys were good guys?
Yeah, listen, she did. And you told us that then we tried to be, I mean, Nick, we haven't hidden anything. I've said from the start, I want to get the information that you have, and then I think you have more info than you want to give. You remember, I don't know if you remember how the first conversation started. You didn't want to talk to us. And I said, Nick, will you give me 20 minutes? And he ended up giving us an hour. And then you got off the phone and you said, fuck, what did I do?
They bought it in the beat. You should. The one thing I want to do, you guys, I told you that this guy, I can't say, that's his name, that's Lord DeGuerin or?
Yeah, DeGuerin.
DeGuerin. I told you that Collins calling it.
Yep.
New York last week. Okay. So, the point, I want you to understand the point to which Terry and her son Drew are hysterical at. They called Drew in Brooklyn and.
Wait, is Drew the lawyer? Drew's the rocker.
No, Drew's the rocker.
Drew. Got it, okay.
Okay. So he called me and he said, dude, I'm calling you because Terry and I agree, his mother and I have agreed that there's a hitman on my trail looking for me. I said, what? And he said, yeah. He said, I don't exactly got his name. And he said, I got his phone number, and he ran up 3 digits, and I filled in the other digits. And I said, that's someone who's DeGuerin's law office, okay? So I said, man, but that's what the president conjecture got hysterical about.
Hey, how did you know DeGuerin's number?
Pardon me?
You said you filled in the other digits.
That's a good question. Because this guy kept calling me and leaving his number and take his calls.
Well,
He never did. Take the calls because this is an assistant.
Right.
I think that's just, look, I'm going to be in town for the weekend. Maybe we can get together. And of course, I never called the governor in his office. I ever talked was one of these secretaries.
And at this point, so as of, today's date, you have not talked to anybody from the defense team, investigators, etc.
With the exception of their secretary.
And that was just to tell them, you didn't want to talk or arranging things.
Right. But then she said to me, well, we have a very dear friend in common. So they said, who? Tilty Freeman. Okay. That was you.
No, the second.
That should tell you a lot about me. That I wouldn't take their call. I didn't want to talk to them.
What's so
I'm going to talk to you. We're involved forthright with each other.
Well, and Nick, listen, and I would be,
Did you hear himself call me? I didn't return his call back to him.
Nick, listen, I appreciate that you talk to us. I do. But
Up to them.
I can't agree that you've been completely forthright with us, and the reason I say that is because you repeatedly told me you haven't. so I mean, listen, you got to do what.
If I'm a liar, was I telling the truth then?
Well, what's that?
If I'm a liar, was I telling the truth then?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Hey, Nick, I'll tell you something. Here's what I've learned about liars. Liars lie when it's in their motivation, when they have a reason to lie. Just because someone will lie doesn't mean they're always lying. And the best way to figure it out is, hey, do they have a reason to lie?
Right.
Yeah, and Nick, I think, and listen, I'm laying my cards on the table. As we sit here right now, I believe with every fiber in my body, every little bit, I believe that you have not told us everything that Bob told you. I don't know if you told Terry everything that Bob told you, but I know this.
You told her,
Yeah, you told her what she said you told us, Nick. You told her, Nick. I'm 100% certain that you told her that. And now even you're saying, well, I'm not saying I didn't tell her that. I might have been drunk, I might have been lying, etc. So I'm hoping, I'm an optimist. And I think in the end, Nick, I am hoping that your concern for Susan, your concern for Kathy, and your own self-respect. Terry had a line for us. And your kids' respect. Terry had a line for us. She said, listen, Nick is not going to perjure himself. Nick doesn't want to be involved. And Nick has kind of come to terms that in the end, Nick will...
You might be not perjured.
Yeah, right. And she said in the end, I think, this is Terry, I think he will do the right thing. So...
What did you say? What did you say? I think.
Terry said that she said to us, listen, in the end, Nick's not going to perjure himself, and I think that Nick will do the right thing. And I'm hoping, Nick, I hope it's true, because all we've ever wanted from you is the truth. I think you know that, Nick. You know, we treated you decently. We've been honest with you. Now, listen, I didn't come out of the box and tell you, hey, by the way, I'm recording this. And the reason is because you know what happens when you tell people you're recording them?
Yeah.
What happens?
They get very conscious of it, and that's what they focus on.
They do, and then they don't tell you the things that they might have otherwise told you. So you know.
I did interviews with, I worked with the experiences of the real estate guys, and I taped a lot of the interviews.
You said you didn't want to answer any questions about a book, etc. I'm just wondering, would the title maybe be something like My Friend Bob the Murderer, or no?
No, it was actually, the first time it was in Ryder Ashes off. There's not a lot of different people not want to be Bob, and always something like my business. Similar about Seymour and Donald Trump, which happened to Donald Trump.
Wait, listen. You've always said that Seymour was a class guy, and that the way he got portrayed in the book and the movie was unfair.
Totally unfair. He was like that.
Well, you know what else I've always, just from what I've found out, Nick, you know this better than anybody. It seems to me that not only the issue was not that Seymour was too hard on Bob. The problem was he wasn't hard enough.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you know what I mean. What I mean by that is that no matter what stuff Bob did, no matter what bad things, you know, stealing from the company, and you know all the things Bob.
That's my knowledge.
No, well.
You just find out that he's still around. I mean, I pretty much don't think most of them opinion waste estimates and other stuff.
Well, so anyway, so bottom line is, I'm still hoping, Nick, that when push comes to shove, you will do the right thing and tell us everything that you know. And if you won't do it now, that when you actually get on the witness stand, you know, it's a difference. I will tell you that, and I'm saying this generically, but it's true. My experience is that when someone finds herself in the courtroom and they've taken that oath, even kind of skeptical people, etc.,
Right.
it usually means something, and a lot of times someone will tell the truth. So I will tell you that since you haven't told us everything now, you told us I haven't told you everything, when you get into court, I hope you listen to the oath, and if it takes till that moment for you to actually tell everything you know, I hope you will.
Right.
Okay?
Just before I know they're not Chavin and Klein with being sworn in, and the court began depositions coming out of it. Someone needed me to testify as a witness to something about me. Yeah, but the one time I was in front of a judge, and it was I don't remember what the matter was. It wasn't criminal. It was business. I completely froze. You asked me the name of your partner.
Listen, it's a scary process. So if in the end, hey, Nick, but just ask yourself this when you're thinking about this and when you're deciding what you're going to do. Honestly, ask yourself, number one, is Bob worth it? That's the first thing. And number two, and maybe this matters, if the roles were reversed, would Bob do that for you? Because with what you have said...
That's an interesting guy.
Well, listen, I mean, again, let's assume that Bob made the comment of it was her or me, which I believe he did.
That's not my memory.
Okay, well, no, it's okay. I understand you're saying that that's not your memory, and that if you said it, you were drunk, etc. But I'm saying if Bob said it's Susan or me, then that meant that in the end, Bob kind of decided. And let me ask you this. Now, this is interesting. Why don't I ask this? Do you think that in the end, if Bob had confessed to Susan about Kathy, or if Susan had helped Bob with the alibi, etc., which, by the way, you have said that Susan told you she did. Okay, do you think, in the end, would Susan have told the truth about Bob and Kathy, or do you think she would have kept it?
What happened? I understand the end of the question.
Well, no. So if Bob had made incriminating statements to Susan about Kathy, or Susan had done things that were incriminating to help Bob, do you think that in the end, Susan would have actually admitted what she had done, or would she have protected Bob?
Under oath?
Yeah.
I think she would have lied under oath.
Well, so you know what? It looks like if that's the case, Bob made a pretty intelligent, understandable decision.
How so?
Well, if Susan had information on him, and if you're telling me you know Susan as well as Bob knew Susan, then it looks like Bob decided that was a loose end he couldn't have out there.
That's certainly logical.
Hey, listen, if you change your mind, you have my number, and we'll always take your call. And I will say, Nick, just because we're saying you haven't been 100% truthful with us right now, I'm not making a judgment about you. I'm not saying you're a bad person. It's a process, and I understand. And every time we talk to you, it seems to me, usually, we take one step forward, sometimes two back, sometimes two forward, sometimes one back. But I think you are on a path that, in the end, leads to you doing the right thing, and I'm gonna hold that out.
Great.
All right.
I want to call you, not necessarily to change anything, but just because I have some questions I'll ask you about this you do.
Yeah, listen, you can, I can't, here's what I always tell witnesses. I can't promise I'll answer it, but hey, have you ever called me where I don't call you back?
No, but the first time I've always called you back.
No, it's true. You always do, although it's never the same day. Like I always say, in advertising, I don't know how you can be so hard to get a hold of, but
What about you?
well, and listen, you got my number, so we'll go from there.
When we started out this conversation, you seemed like you were pretty upset with it. Were you no. Were you more upset with it? Were you more upset with us, or were you more upset at the situation Terry put you in by telling us what she told us? I wanted to make sure that you knew I tried to call because she made sure that I called you. She said, don't forget to call these guys back.
Right. Hey, Nick, I know, Nick, I know that you guys, I'm not sure what exactly the state of the relationship is, but I know right now, it's very clear to me that your wife cares about you and wants you to do the right thing. So I hope, listen, everybody makes their own decisions. I want with this last thing. He's just not worth it, Nick. He needs to, it's time that justice prevails and that he's held accountable for what he is. Because in the end, Nick, when the end comes for you, and I'm going to make a wild guess, you're not a religious guy. Am I correct? You know what's funny? I'm not either. One of my best friends, who's a homicide detective, is a I'm Jewish like you are. I'm going to make a guess. I am. I'm going to make a guess that you are one of those Jewish guys. You are going to be agnostic, if not atheist. Correct?
Yeah, well, I'm more a scientist, right?
Oh, okay. So, but here's what happens. This is what my buddy, who's a pastor, retired detective, says. The closer you come to meeting your maker, he says, the more religious everybody gets. And right at the end, everybody's like, the people are not religious. They're going, you know what? God, about this thing over here. So Nick, listen, I want you to be in a position that you can't change whatever mistakes you've made or whatever things you've done in life, and neither can I. All we can do is moving forward. I want you to be able to say to yourself and your family and to God, etc., you know what? It might have taken me a little while, but in the end, I told the whole truth. So I hope that means something. Just think about it. Okay. All right. No problem, Nick. Listen, if you want to call us, we'll be there. You take care. Bye.
Okay. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Okay, Mr. Chavin, I want to return just to a couple of things that you said. And ask you.
Can we stop for a moment and speak to you for a moment with Mr. Rowland? Thanks.
All right. All right, you may stand this direct, ladies and gentlemen, for a moment.
Your Honor, so not to take jury time at a later point in time, we'll make a complete
Sure, yeah,
record.
we'll make a record, thanks. I
Thank you.
appreciate us going sidebar and not taking the time.
Thank you.
Anyway, fascinating again. It's endlessly fascinating, the law of evidence. So, let's resume.
On page 5, line 3, the transcript, if you want to follow along. You're very adamant, would you agree, when you say, no, he didn't confess?
Very adamant.
Yeah, strong. You're forceful. It seems to me, this is a different question. It seems to me that early in this conversation, you're angry and you're forceful and you're direct. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I think I am a lot in this very long conversation.
And later on, you seem to kind of be less forceful.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So we'll just let that be the jury's decision. Line 5, page 3, you say very directly, he didn't confess. No, he didn't confess. That's what you said, isn't it?
Yep.
And then on page 6, line 25, When you're asked if Bob turned to you and said it was either Susan or me, and you said, yeah, no, that didn't happen. I told her that didn't happen.
Where did that line come from?
Oh, you mean the little blue line?
No. The line that we're talking about there was either Susan or me. I mean, it seems so obvious to me that we're...
Well, I'm not here to answer questions, but what I'll do is I'll clarify. The passage before it is Mr. Lewin asking you, or stating to you, that what Terry had said, and repeating what Terry had said, and he says, and that finally he turned to you and he said it was either Susan or me, being something that Terry said then.
Right.
To them. And you say, yeah, no, that didn't happen. She told me that she said it, and I said, that didn't happen. She said, you told me it did. I said, no, I didn't, and it didn't happen. Now, who's telling the truth there?
Sir, how could she have even known those words if I hadn't told her?
Who's telling the truth there?
But as far as who's
But
lying...
you tell the prosecutors that didn't happen. That's what you said, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm covering up.
So you're lying.
I'm covering up. I don't
Is there a
want to
difference?
tell the truth. Yes, I think there's a big difference.
And you repeated that didn't happen.
Through 56 minutes, I'm covering up the same thing. We all know what happened, and we all know I don't want to admit it. That seems so painfully obvious. I'm lying.
Okay, so
Just to
you
clarify
now
for the
admit that you were lying.
I admit I was covering up.
Could we have the last sentence of his response read back?
Just now, I admit I was covering up.
No.
Previous.
The previous one where he said I was lying.
Sure. Will you please?
The very last answer?
Not the very last one, the one before that. While the judge was looking, he said, I was lying.
Mm. Yes, I was lying.
Okay. Those were your words just now, weren't they? I was lying.
So was I was covering up. Those were my words, yes. They weren't my only words.
You may answer and explain your answer. I'm not going to let you, tie you in something out of context. You may answer and you may explain your answer.
My answer is that I was covering up. It appears to be a lie. I just didn't want to tell the truth.
Okay, is there a difference between telling a lie and not telling the truth?
I think there is, yes. It's the context and the intent.
Page 15. You recall the exchange where Mr. Lewin said, I've only got one more question and then we'll end the call?
Yes.
That was on page 15 of 52 pages, so that means there was another significant portion after the last question.
Yes, there was.
And the question was, have you told us everything you can remember in your answer? Was?
You asking me what my answer was?
Yeah, your answer was, to the best of my knowledge, yeah?
Okay.
That's what was your answer?
Yes, it is.
That was a lie too? Are you telling us that was a lie?
For 56 minutes, I'm covering up the same thing, and you're asking me at each point, are you still covering up? Are you still covering up, or are you lying? Are you lying? I'm still covering up the same thing. I don't want to admit it, but I don't want to admit it.
The question was, well, is that a lie? According to you.
We're not, according to me, no. According to you, yes.
Is it the truth?
No.
Okay. I want to jump right to what, well, one other thing about possible motive for Terry. You think up a motive for Terry to say to them what you say you didn't say to her.
I'm gonna
Too
say-
convoluted for you to
I'm
understand the
gonna-
question?
For me,
That you're telling the prosecutors that Terry was not being truthful. And she said that you told her that Bob had confessed. That's the theme of this.
Yes, I was not telling the truth.
And well, as you do that, you speculate on what Terry's motive would have been to say that, don't you?
I don't recall, if you say so, yes.
Page 19, line 26.
Right, I don't see how it had anything to do with where she works.
Well,
I mean, it's the opposite of what you're saying.
you're being asked by Mr. Lewin, why would Terry say that if it's not true? And you then pose a question. Do you know where Terry works? That was your question.
Yes,
You were posing,
it's a rhetorical question.
yeah, a rhetorical question, which means that you were saying Terry works at the Durst organization and that's why she's lying. Right?
Yes, but that's not why she's lying. I'm telling you she wasn't lying.
But you were telling them that she was lying.
Everything I'm saying is a cover-up for the fact that I don't want to say it was her or me. I had no choice.
You're in the process of telling the prosecution that Terry is lying. And then you pose as a rhetorical question suggesting why she's lying, because she works for the Durst organization. Isn't that correct?
It's correct, these things were said that are written here, yes.
And then on page 33, it's highlighted where you say, my business depends on goodwill with his brother who hates him. You're speaking about Douglas Durst.
Yes,
Recall before lunch, when I was asking you about whether you had said these things, you wanted to see it or hear it yourself. You've heard it now, and that's what you said.
I heard one.
You heard this. My business depends upon goodwill
Oh, yes,
with his
yes,
brother
yes.
who hates him. So you did say it, didn't you?
Yes,
And you're speaking of Douglas Durst.
but you're
Or are
misunderstanding.
you speaking of Douglas Durst?
Yes,
And do you say, I want to do everything in my power to have Douglas Durst feel the best about me? That's what this is about. Is that what you said?
yes,
All right.
but you know, by not letting me explain my answers, you slant them.
Well, the prosecution can let you explain if you think you need to explain,
Okay.
but you answered the question. Right above line 23 at line line 22, you say, and I've come to be close to him. You were talking about Douglas Durst, weren't you?
It appears so.
All right. And then Mr. Lewin has another question. According to your theory, that would put you in good graces with Doug Durst if you'd said that Bob confessed to the murders.
No.
Well, no, wait a minute.
Okay.
You're not disputing the words on the transcript or what you heard, are you?
I'm disputing the assumption that you're making, that would have
I'm not
pleased
making an
Douglas.
assumption, I'm asking a question. Do
Okay.
you dispute the words on the transcript?
No, I don't dispute the words.
Your Honor, we've completed the 6-hour, 16-minute videotape testimony of Nick Chavin. There's a little more. So the parties have stipulated that the remainder of the testimony of Nick Chavin was not video recorded because the video camera malfunctioned. The remainder of the testimony, which is reflected in pages 292 through 326 of what's been marked as 281A, the transcript, will now be read to the jury as if the witness testified live.
I understand that you, Mr. Henderson, are going to read Nick Chavin's testimony.
Yes, and I believe Mr. Lewin will play himself, Mr. DeGuerin will play himself.
I wanted to play Chavin so John could ask me questions.
I want him to play Mr. Lewin.
I wanted to be a professional football player. We're not getting our wishes today. Again, Your Honor, just so it's clear, it is nobody in the courtroom's responsibility that this was not videotaped. I know Mr. Milius didn't want to be blamed for that. It was nobody.
Definitely wasn't me.
Although I'm a likely candidate, it wasn't.
No one in the
It
courtroom.
wasn't Mr. Bailey.
All right, you may continue with the examination, reading the examination.
And then finally, I'm sorry, Your Honor. And I believe the parties also stipulated that the court reporter need not take down this readback. It's reflected page 292, 326.
Thank you.
So stipulated, counsel?
Stipulated.
Dick, are you going to read the court's part on it?
I will.
Okay.
The court, we're back in session. People versus Durst. Mr. Durst is here with his counsel. The people are represented. The witness has resumed the witness stand. You remain under oath. You may continue with your examination. So let me get this over with real quickly. Mr. Lewin is posing to you the belief or the statement that if you said Bob confessed to you, it would put you in good graces with Douglas Durst. That's what Mr. Lewin is saying. That's what his proposition, right?
That is what Mr. Lewin is saying, yes.
And you say, quote, it sure would, but it would make me a liar. That was your response, wasn't it?
At that time.
No. Was that your response?
I'm trying to answer your question, sir.
The transcript and what we heard of the recording has you saying, quote, it sure would, but it would make me a liar, end quote. That's what you said, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's take that piece by piece. Quote, it sure would. That is where you're agreeing with this proposition that Mr. Lewin has said, that if you said that Bob confessed to the murders, it would put you in good graces with Douglas Durst. And you're agreeing with that.
No, I'm not agreeing with that. I'm agreeing I said it.
What were the words?
No, I'm only saying that I said that. But everything, there's two things. First, I wasn't sure that Doug Durst, even though they fought with each other, I was not sure that he wanted to see his brother incarcerated for the rest of his life. So I always felt trepidation about that. Secondly, everything I'm saying is based on my wanting to covering up the truth at this time.
Second part of it. Quote, but it would make me a liar, end quote. That part of it, you were responding to, if you said he did these murders, it would make you a liar. Isn't that correct?
I'm not sure.
All right. I want to go very briefly to the interview of October the 30th. And that's...
What year, sir?
2015. October the 30th, 2015. And our exhibit is, I think it's 000. The transcript for October the 30th, 2015. This is the confession transcript. This is a confession time. I can identify it for you. John, that's your cue.
Just so you know, I'm sorry. You understand that the way we did it, there is a part 1 and a part 2. You just need to, the transcripts need to indicate, are you talking about part 1 or part 2 of October 30th?
It must be part 1.
Okay, I thought that's what it was. I just want to, the record's clear.
Yes, it's from part 1. That's bad.
Okay, thank you.
Page 13, lines 11 through 19. Your Honor, I believe I can do this on the Elmo, and that was an Elmo, I believe, not a wolf.
It was a wolf.
Oh, was it? Yes. There seems to be a glitch. Ms. Manella, I don't want to do this falsetto again, but why don't you get started? The court, actually it's not an Elmo, it's kind of like copying a copy machine, a Xerox. Mr. Chesnut, I still do that too, Your Honor. The court, it's a document projector. This is an excerpt from the October 30th interview, and it's where you say for the first time in 7 months of talking to the prosecutors, the claim that you've made today, that Bob Durst confesses to you by saying, I had to, I had no choice, I had to, it was her or me, and you repeat it.
Is there a question there?
Does that seem accurate? Is that what you said?
Well, I believe there is an unnecessary, there is a repetition there that wasn't in what was said, what I said, or what Bob said. The words are right, but that repetition of it is not.
You don't recall that you repeated several times?
No.
Well, the transcript is a transcript.
Okay, the text of it is accurate.
All right. I want to compare that to what you said to the prosecutors on April the 23rd, which is on the other side of the, Ms. Manella, apparently everything I touch breaks. There it is.
Do you want to identify who?
She was an IT person that was working the electronics. There it is. And on April the 23rd, you said, Bob, quote, this quote, Bob, you were going to tell me about Susan, end quote. And then he turned and he just sort of shrugged and he looked upset and he just shrugged and he kind of mumbled something. I've been trying to put together what it was and I can't really put together what it was, end quote. That's what you said.
Yes, I was covering up what he said. But didn't we just go through this?
Mr. DeGuerin, you just said April 23rd. You didn't give a year. I assume you mean April 23rd, 2015, before the October statement. Is that correct?
Good catch. April 23rd, 2015.
I know it hurt you reading that, Mr. DeGuerin. Thank you.
I know it hurt you reading that.
Fair enough.
I want to show you what you said again on April the 23rd. This is page 3, 2015, and compare it to what you had said before, leaving it on the left side of the screen, what you said before on later on October the 30th, months later, and then on the right I have the quotes from you.
Uh-huh.
Quote, we didn't talk about it. He said next time, and I know he's trying to tell me something. I don't know what he's trying to tell me, end quote. I want to put now on the screen an excerpt from July the 23rd, 2015, page 5, line 3. Quote, no, he didn't confess. You said that too, didn't you?
Apparently, I was covering up. Yes.
I'm not asking you why you said it. I'm only asking you what you said. And now my next question is going to be the same. This is July the 23rd, page 10, lines 15 through 18. Again, 2015. Mr. Bailey.
No, but that's you asking the question.
Oh, that's me. Okay, sorry. Let me start over. And my next question is going to be the same. This is July the 23rd, page 10, lines 15 through 18. Again, 2015. Quote, Mr. Balian,
did you ever tell Terry at any point in time, ever, that at any point in time, Bob told you words to the effect of, quote, it was either Susan or me, stop quotes? Your answer was no, correct?
Yes, that was correct. I was covering up the truth.
I'm not asking you what you were doing. I'm asking you if those were your words. Those were your words, right?
My words or my word?
Well, your word, no. You denied that you told Terry, quote, it was either Susan or me, end quote, quoting Bob.
Obviously, for her to know that, I had to have told her.
And finally, July the 23rd, page 10, lines 28 through page 11, line 6. Quote, at any point in history, I just don't think so. Or, and you know we drink a lot. Maybe I was drunk and I said it. I doubt it. I don't remember it. I certainly don't remember ever saying that. I didn't say that, end quote. Those were your words, right?
But I don't know what it's referring to. It says, at any point.
Quote, at any point in history, told Terry that Bob said, interior quotes, it was either Susan or me, stop interior quotes, stop quote. And your bottom line is, quote, I didn't say that. Those are your words, right?
Yes, I was covering up. That's not true. I was keeping the truth out. I'm not denying I said those things.
Did you tell the prosecution that you believed the dinner in New York where the confession happened was on December the 10th?
I don't recall that, no.
Did you say it was on the same day as the end of the trespass trial?
No, I'd have to see where you're saying I said that, because I just don't remember that.
What date do you say it is?
What date do I say what?
What date do you say it was?
I know it was the end of December. I think it was December 30th, or it was right around New Year's. I don't remember the exact date.
All right, December. Did you say that it was, did you say, or do you say now, that it was the same day of the trespassing trial that he won, kind of a celebration?
That it was a celebration was Bob's intent. I don't know that it was the same date. But I know it was a celebration of his acquittal, or whatever it's called. I don't know the date of the verdict coming down on the trespassing charge.
And you say that the dinner was in Harlem?
Yes.
That you're certain of?
Well, yeah, I'm reasonably certain of that. Yeah.
Our triple R, there's an exhibit. You've seen this exhibit that's on the screen now, our triple R. This is an email from you to John Lewis. Quote, I am 85% sure is the restaurant where Bob and I ate barrel wine.
Can I qualify my answer?
Hold on. Is that your email? We've been over this before.
No.
Before lunch. Are you backing up on that?
I'm backing up on the photo that was shown.
I'm not asking you about the photo.
Okay.
I'm asking you about this email. Do you or do you not acknowledge that's your email?
It appears to be. I think the technical people would say you can't tell from that, but it appears to be.
There was a period of time when the prosecutors were asking you where it was. Do you remember what the restaurant was? And you were trying to get to them the name of the restaurant. That's true, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is a result. On January 15, 2016, you sent an email saying it was at Barrel Wine.
Yes.
Okay, and you believe it was in December?
Yes, which is very important.
And Bob paid with his American Express.
I don't know that.
You did say that before, didn't you?
No.
You never said that?
I don't believe so. I never intended to. I don't know how he paid.
Let me see, Exhibit Triple N, page 45. On the screen is a part of the transcript from October the 30th, and the Bates number is 148773, it's page 45, you were asked, quote, who paid the bill? End quote, line 8. And your answer was, quote, Bob. Yes, because he usually did, but not always, but sometimes, end quote. And then you asked, so you can get it from his credit card, right? End quote. And I think that's Detective Chameleon asked, quote, so he used a credit card, you're saying, end quote, and you answered, quote, yeah. That was your answer then, correct?
Yes, as opposed to which credit card?
Okay, let me show you American Express credit cards. The court, what is this exhibit, by the way? The Manila N for Nancy, Mr. Balian, N for Nancy, thank you. It's our exhibit double Y, as in yellow, page 4. There's a charge on May the 15th, 2014, Barrow Wine Restaurant. Keep that in mind for a moment. Let me show you your emails. Let me just do it this way. Let me just do it this way. Let's assume, Mr. Chavin, that there is a charge on his American Express in May for barrel wine, and there is an exchange of emails between you and Bob that expresses, it was a nice dinner last night, thanks, end quote. Does that serve to refresh your recollection that the dinner at Barrel Wine was actually in May?
No. I would like to see that email that says last night.
Okay. I've handed to the prosecution our double X. Mr. Chesnoff says triple X. The court says dos X's. Our exhibit, which is a collection of emails between Mr. Chavin and Mr. Durst, page 4. And as you know, when you have printouts of emails, you read from the bottom up. On May 16th, at 1:16 in the morning, Mr. Durst emails you, quote, almost forgot. Please do talk to Jarecki, end quote. I only read a part of it. And your response up at the top, May 16th, 7:24 in the morning, quote, will do. Gracias for dinner last night. Terrifico eatery, Senor Chavez. That was your nom de guerre for using Bob's apartment, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
Do you understand the question?
Yeah, but that wasn't when we had dinner.
Well, I ask you to keep in mind the other exhibit that I put up, which was a charge the night before, on the 14th.
Uh-huh.
Keeping in mind the barrel wine charge on his credit card for the 14th. Keeping in mind your exchange of emails in which you thank him for the dinner with your nom de guerre. Does that refresh your recollection that the dinner at Barrel Wine was actually in May?
I'm not sure if we didn't have more than one dinner there, because May is not my recollection of when.
All right, new subject. You mentioned that some time ago in your testimony that Kathy came to you or to your apartment on numerous occasions by yourself. Do you remember that testimony, a line of testimony?
Yeah, I believe I do.
And it's true, isn't it, that you introduced her to a cocaine dealer?
I introduced her to a neighbor.
Who was a cocaine dealer?
That's probably true.
Who supplied her with cocaine, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, I don't know. I wasn't there when that happened.
But she used cocaine, you know that.
Yes. No, I didn't have personal knowledge. I just know what she seemed to be indicating.
Did you ever use cocaine with her?
No.
You and Bob used marijuana a lot, didn't you?
We'd used it.
A lot, frequently?
I wouldn't use either of those two words. I'd say occasionally.
one last thing before we go. Your stage name is what?
Chavin?
What does that mean?
I'm not sure about Chavin.
I'm not asking about Chavin. I'm asking about Chinga. You're from El Paso, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
In fact, you wrote a song about El Paso.
Yes, I did. Well, I wrote a parody. It was a parody off a Merle Haggard song.
What was the name of that song?
Okie from Muskogee.
No, not Merle Haggard's song. Your song.
A Soul from El Paso.
What?
A Soul from El Paso.
A soul.
S-O-U-L. Yeah, there are many spellings of it.
How do you spell it on your album?
How did I spell it on my album?
How is it spelled on your album?
A-S-S-H-O-L-E.
Okay.
It's a parody. It's a satiric.
I understand that. I would imagine that it is, but...
It was recorded by one of your favorite recording artists.
I'm sorry?
It was recorded by one of your favorite recording artists.
Kinky Friedman.
Yes.
He did a better job than, well, who did the best job?
It's really a judgment call. I'd say Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson.
Do you sing it better than Kinky sings it?
Yeah, but not better than Willie and Kinky. Willie Nelson and Kinky.
I'll grant you that Willie is better.
I want to stipulate that this is the most relevant part of cross-examination.
It's the parting shot, if you will. On the screen, is that your album, the name of it, Country Porn?
It sure is. It was gold in Canada.
I'm sorry?
It was gold in Canada.
Well, that says something about Canada, I suppose.
And it sold over 500,000 copies in the U.S.
Let's look at some of the songs.
The title of some of the songs? I predicted this.
The court. Robin reminds me, 5G, the court, 5G. Okay, that's G, 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 G. G as in golf. Let's see. What are these are all that you performed or wrote?
Or co-wrote, but you can read it. You don't need me to read it.
Well, why don't you read it to us?
Why don't you read it?
Okay. Talking Matamoros, First Piece of Ass Blues. That's the #1 song?
Yeah, it is.
And then, as you said, you didn't pronounce it asshole from El Paso, did you?
No, we preferred A Soul from El Paso.
And the other names, those were all...
I was told that this was a personal favorite of yours, this album.
I've never seen it before the album. I've never seen the album before I saw it on the screen.
That's not what Kinky said.
Of course, I'm not the witness here. That's all. We'll pass the witness.
Okay, the court says thank you. All right, it's time for the redirect examination. A brief redirect examination.
Only one question.
Yeah. Who's counting?
Mr. Chavin,
Yes.
how would you describe yourself in terms of your skill set if I were to say your memory for dates?
Dates? Pretty bad. I'm a creative director, and I've always been a creative person and a writer.
Have you told us repeatedly during your interviews that you are terrible with dates?
Yes, I have, and I'm proud of it.
What do you have a better memory of, Mr. Chavin? Mr. Durst telling you, and I'm paraphrasing, it was her or me, or what date that conversation took place on?
Clearly the words. It was her or me.
Do you have a better memory of Mr. Durst telling you what you believe was a confession to the murder of your other best friend, or what credit card was used at the meal?
I had.
What's that?
Say that again. What was the first thing?
What do you have a better memory of? Do you have a better memory of what you've described by Mr. Durst as, in essence, the confession to the murder of your other best friend, Susan? That's one thing. Or do you have a better memory of which credit card might have been used on the date that you heard the information?
Clearly the first thing. But let me say, I don't know what credit card, and I was asked that, and we were never shown that anything was. I don't know what credit card was even used, so how could I have a better memory of it?
Do you even know, Mr. Chavin, particularly if a credit card was used?
No, not for certain. I just assumed that because I just assumed it.
He knows he didn't pay.
That's true, Mr. DeGuerin.
Mr. Balian says, so he answered, so can we just get for the record whatever Mr. DeGuerin said? The reporter says, what was that?
He said he knows that he didn't pay.
So, you didn't pay, correct?
No, I know he's 100% right.
There have been a lot of questions by Mr. DeGuerin about what you did or did not tell your wife, and whether your wife lied to us when she said you had told her about the confession, or whether you lied to us when originally you repeatedly stated in essence that there had been no confession. Who was lying, you or your wife?
I was, but I was covering up, and it can be, I was withholding the truth. Was that just a euphemism? So I was lying.
You were just shown, Mr. Chavin, some titles with some pretty bad language. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I'm not going to let her buy your album.
That's too bad.
I don't know whether when she's 37 I'm going to let her buy that album. But you were shown that album, correct? Those covers?
Yes.
Mr. Chavin,
Yes.
do you believe that the song titles you've written have any impact on your memory of your best friend, Bob Durst, confessing to you what you believe was the murder of your other best friend, Susan Berman?
No, of course not.
Do you remember when we had the conversation on October 30th, 2015, the date you finally came clean? I want to play you a clip, and I want to ask you if you remember this clip. NC 179, 103015, page 10, lines 8 through 16, LADA Bates 148729.
What was the date?
The court, People's 5, People's 6. Mr. Milius says yes, People's 6 and People's 6A will be incorporated as part of the transcript. The court says yes, just to be clear. And the witness wants to know what date.
Yes.
10/30/2015. Then an audio recording of that clip was played. Yeah, do we have it ready to play? Your Honor, at this point in time, we would then request, this is an audio clip.
I think Mr.
We have it ready to play.
Play it.
Henderson, you have the file?
I can do both.
It's multitasking.
This witness is very, he does it all, Your Honor.
That's like the Woody Allen movie, you remember?
Goes back and forth, cross-examining himself. Yeah.
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 Bananas.
Bananas.
Let's start from the beginning. No. Let's start with.
We're going to start with the most horrible part.
Let's start with.
I want to get that out of the way. Look, I've decided to do this, and it's not going to change my mind. Asking fear of death isn't going to change my mind.
Do you remember that, Mr. Chavin?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me, when you were talking about, I think we better start with the most horrible part, unquote, do you remember what you were referring to?
I'm pretty sure it's what I allege. What I said Bob said to me after dinner.
This was the date, October 30th, 2015, correct? Mr. Chavin, when you came clean for the first time with what had happened at that dinner, is that correct? That's to refresh your memory?
Yes, yes.
And when you said at the bottom there, what did you mean by that? I want to get that quote, I want to get that out. I want to get that out of the way. Look, I've decided to do this and nothing's going to change my mind. Not even fear of death is going to change my mind on this, unquote. What did you mean by that?
I went through a horrible state of mind, angst over doing this. And it's like your first time diving in a pool. You want to get it over with quick before you change your mind. I wanted to commit to the truth, and I had to do it quick.
And is this what you did when you told us what your best friend Bob Durst had told you about murdering your other best friend, Susan Berman?
Yes, it is.
Nothing further. The court says, so may this witness be excused?
Yes.
Yes. The court says you are formally excused. That concludes the testimony of Nick Chavin, Your Honor.
All right, there are exhibits during that conditional examination. Will you mark them now?
Would you like to mark in exhibit sheet 2 pages as People's 281B? It's exhibit sheet is as follows. The new People's 281C is a photograph, which was People's 3 in the video. People's 281D is a photograph, which was People's 4 in the video. People's 281E is a 49-page transcript, which was People's 5 in the video. People's 281F is a 7-page transcript, which was People's 6 in the video. People's 281G is a 49-page transcript, which was defense triple B in the video. People's 281H is a 52-page transcript, which was defense triple C in the video. People's 281I is an 8-page transcript, which was defense triple D in the video. People's 281J is a 3-page printout from a website with an album cover. That was defense 5 Gs in the video and the reading of the transcript. People's 281K was a DVD with a 1 hour and 4-minute interview. That was defense triple I in the video. People's 281L is a 52-page transcript, which was defense triple I-1 in the video. People's 281M is a photograph, which was defense 5 Ls in the video. People's 281N is a 55-page transcript, which was conveniently defense triple N in the video. People's 281O was that same transcript marked again, 55 pages, defense triple O in the video. People's 281P is a 1-page email. That was defense triple R in the video and transcript. People's 281Q is 44 pages of emails, which was defense XX in the video and transcript. And finally, People's 281R is 7 pages of Amex records. That was defense double Y in the video and transcript.
All right, thank you. Before we move to the next portion, let's take our recess until 10 minutes after 3. Do not converse among yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this case. Do not form or express any opinion on the case.
We're only doing to 4 today, is that correct?
We're finishing early today at 4. Jurors have left the courtroom, and Mr. Chesnoff did have an objection. I'm grateful to counsel that you agree to this procedure where we discuss the issue in chambers briefly and then put that discussion on the record. That makes it go so much more smoothly. So you may state your objection.
Correct, Your Honor. We've previously, from the beginning, brought to the court's attention that we think Mr. Lewin's direct involvement with these witnesses as the interrogator creates issues for the people. We think it makes him a witness, in fact, because he tends to shape what the answers are because of his methodology, which I'm not critical of if he was a policeman, but he's a prosecutor in the case. We believe that it was the basis for recusal previously. We put that on the record. We believe that different comments that he makes when he's interrogating Mr. Chavin, for example, talk about how he understands what the truth is, which in our opinion is prosecutorial vouching. I've asked the court to give me a little time to prepare something again in writing, and we will do that.
Very briefly, Your Honor. Number one, what they're objecting to was a question and an interview that they themselves brought out on cross-examination. They then were given in advance the transcript, so they knew this was going to be put in, and it was their original question. Now, for what I believe is the 5th time, they come up and they make an objection, this time regarding not only something they stipulated to, but something which they were the original party to bring out. In addition, all of my interviews are taped. There is no vouching. They give no authority for their position.
Yes, we have.
They can dislike all they want the methodology that I use. There's a detective on the line. I'm recording the conversations. There is nothing unethical, illegal, or improper. And if they want to make arguments that somehow I directed this witness, I think, Your Honor, and the court is certainly a pretty good indicator. I think if anyone listens to Mr. Chavin, it's pretty clear that this is a man who took a long time for him to decide that he was going to do the right thing. And finally, encouraging a witness to be truthful is in no way vouching, it is in no way considered unethical, and it is not coercive. Submitted.
Your Honor, I didn't use the word unethical. I know what vouching is. I've litigated it. The point I try to make, Your Honor, is we have raised this from day one. I believe Mr. Ray was the one who first raised it. He texted me actually during this and re-raised it. We think it's a legal issue, Your Honor. The court is the one that decides it. And like I say, we'll submit something to the court and we'll see where it takes us, Your Honor. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think Mr. DeGuerin makes a very good point that Mr. Lewin continues throughout his interrogations to tell the witness what he believes the truth to be. And it's maybe an effective method to get somebody after 10 interviews to come around, but it still rises to the level of something that a lawyer in a case shouldn't be doing from our position, Your Honor.
All right, if Mr. Lewin is a witness, that is not itself disqualifying. It's often true that a lawyer will witness incidents or statements that are relevant in a trial. It's often true. The solution is to have an investigator present. That's what was done here. As far as vouching, I did spot the issue and listen very carefully to this evidence. It is not vouching. Mr. Lewin came closest to vouching by saying, I believe with every fiber in my body that you haven't yet told us everything. Now that preface, I believe with every fiber in my body, it could lead to vouching if there were a different inquiry. But this particular question, I believe you've not told us everything, certainly is not vouching for the truth of what the witness has said. Now at times Mr. Lewin makes statements about the evidence and about Mr. Durst similar to what a detective would say in order to provoke a response. But the evidence is not the question, it's not the preface to the question, it is the answer to the question which supplies the evidence. As Mr. Lewin noted, this material was introduced by the defense on cross-examination and then stipulated to for trial. Any objection is waived. Your remedy is, of course, to argue to the jury what they saw, which is, and what they heard. And Mr. Lewin is questioning in a particular manner that you can say provokes an answer or suggests something that you think isn't right or isn't fair. You're free to make that argument, of course.
And Your Honor, the only thing I would add is we've raised this at the start of the case and the court's ruled previously, which Mr. Lewin points out. So as the case evolves, we know what the ruling is and we get in a position where we have to make evidentiary decisions about what's going to be best for Mr. Durst based on the court's prior rulings. So it's kind of difficult for me to accept the idea that somehow I waived something because I actually was forced to do it.
Mr. Chesnoff, here's the thing. At the time of the conditional examination, I was very liberal in permitting testimony to be elicited because we did not know the circumstances at the trial, what would or would not be admissible. You have every right to bring to this court, before you stipulate, the issues to see how the court would rule. But you made your decision, you negotiated what would come in and what would not come in, and then you stipulated. That's, in my view, waiver. Thank you. Recess.